We are building the number hunt project from the YByte curriculum. Detailed notes and videos are available on the website www.ybyte.in. But we are at a point where now our computer is giving us a chance to select a number that we want, and the computer is going to be doing the guessing for us. What that means is that now it's time for us to set up a second while loop. Now I'm going to follow the same structure as earlier, which we had used earlier when we were guessing and computer was telling us if it's larger or smaller. Just that the tables will turn now, computer will do the guessing and we will tell if the number is larger or smaller. However, as before, I'm going to use the same flag, which is to say this flag called done, and I must set this to false again, because remember, when the previous loop ran and got over, this done had become true. For example, in line number 23, if I do not do this statement, then my second loop won't even get executed. Now I'm going to also reset my attempts, because I want to count again from 0 what the attempt, how many attempts the computer is taking to guess. Also, I'm going to create an initial guess for my computer. Now remember, this time around computer is going to guess numbers, which means this guess must be an integer. Now why am I choosing with 1? Well, we'll talk about this later. There are different algorithms that we can look at, but for now let's just say is 1. With this setup, I'm going to follow the same structure as earlier. I say while not done, and what do? I say answer is equal to say input, is it, let's say, plus str. Now remember, I have to do all this because the input command will take only a single string. So I'm just basically creating that single string for myself. And I say this, let's say, this has to be done a little bit slowly. So it's going to be a question. So I put a question mark, and then I tell my user, okay, look, please answer Y for say yes, S for say smaller than that, and say L equals to say larger than that. And I close my brackets here and give a \n. So also when I go to the next line, I just make attempts, say attempts is equal to attempts plus say +1. Now let's just look at this code a little bit more carefully. This is how it looks. So we have a while loop once again. Now remember, while loop is going to run while this condition which is not done stays true. I've set done to false, which means second loop will start, and it will just ask me question, well, is it 1? Is it 1? In fact, right now it's going to keep on asking me is it 1, because effectively we have here an infinite loop. Of course, we'll fix this as we go on, but let's just see this working for now. So when I run my code, first the computer guesses, selects a number, asks me to guess, and that has not changed because that's how the code starts. So I say, okay, let's try 14, for example. Larger than that, I say 56. Smaller than that, I was quite aggressive. So I say, for example, 35. Smaller than that, so it's between 14 and 35. Let's try 25. Smaller than that, so probably 20. 14 and 20. So I try, say, let's say 17. Larger than that, I try, say 18. It has to be 19, right? And that's the number. Now remember, the computer now is waiting for me because of this input statement, line number 33. The moment I click enter, once again this flag is set again so that the loop can run. So if I click this enter, notice the second loop has now started, and now right now it's just going to keep on asking me, is it 1, is it 1, is it 1? That's because that's all there is in this loop. Of course, my variable attempts is getting incremented. We'll see that later, but you can see that this part of the code is getting incremented. Now again, I've said this many times, but just to be sure, if I were to make the indentation mistake here, then attempts will go out. Update of attempts will go out of this loop. We don't want that, so that's why it must be indented. So in this case, right now, attempts is getting getting updated. But other than that, my code is basically like a let's say so start it again. Basically, the second loop is running. Now at this point, let's say I had not done this statement. Now this is interesting because when I do this, my done is actually true, which means this condition will never be entered. This loop will not be entered at all. So let's say I try 14. I say larger than that, so I try say 45. Say 67. Say 89. Okay, so between 67 and 89, say 75. Smaller than that, so now we are converging. So say 72. Okay, so 67 and 72, so 69, for example. Say 71. Okay, so that was correct. Now waiting for me, but if I click enter, notice the program gets over. In fact, attempts is still well, attempts is 0 because I have set this to 0 over here. But apart from that, the loop did not run. Now, while now here I would want the loop to run, so I'm going to set my done to false over here. However, for further development, I want to speed it up a little bit. I don't want to go through this process all the time. For the time being, I'm just going to set my done to true over here. Now, which means that what this will do is interesting. Now, when I run the code, the first loop will be exited. First loop will not be run because I'm setting done to true, and this not done becomes false, which means the entire first loop will be skipped, and we can see that in fact in action. So when I start this code, notice it says I've selected number 100. Can you guess? But this entire loop got skipped because I've intentionally made done to true. It says, okay, now your chance, select a number between 1 and 100. This loop is my so if I click, let's say if I go and click enter, my second loop starts to run. Of course, so I say, for example, it doesn't matter what I say, it's just going to keep doing this. If I end this by a keyboard interrupt, if I look at the attempts now, it's going to be 4 because I did this 4 times. I hope this is becoming clear. The second while loop, how it's coming into action, and how the role that's being played by the flag done, and why it's important to make sure it's true before the loop starts. Take care. If learning like this makes things clear for you, do look at our website. There are many examples that will help you. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.